Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 128 of The Established Facts. Can you feel it?
Do you feel better?
Do you feel it?
Because you feel like you needed to get that out.
I've been holding it back since Gen Con, which was only about 2 weeks ago. But,
it's just
it's neither
2
here
weeks.
nor there.
I need more time.
Yeah. I've taken at least 5 naps since then.
I haven't slept at all.
Josh, I'm wired on Red Bull, baby. It gives you wings and a coronary.
New game!
Oh, good Lord.
Good Nord.
Okay, yeah, good Nord.
Good Nord.
Good Nord.
Good Nord. Elder Scrolls reference.
Woo! All right, welcome to 128 of The Established Facts. Sorry for that little rant. Sorry, not sorry.
Not really.
not at all.
We are excited to start kind of getting back into a lot of our regularly scheduled programming. And one of the things that we decided to talk about was, pun intended, an adventure that we're getting ready to step into with playing in the Pathfinder Society. And our very good friend Adam Gottfried is going to be running some Pathfinder Society for us. We're putting together a schedule. I'm extremely excited about it. And so what we want to talk to you guys about is and we're going to start off with our versus topic right after we introduce everybody at the table. But our versus topic is going to be organized play versus casual play, and what we prefer and what we expect and what we have experienced out of them. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and introduce everyone, starting to my right.
This is Dr. Deb.
This is Josh.
This is Prime.
And, of course, I am your host, Big Don. And as you can hear, we have 4 people at the table, so it should be a decent discussion, but not too...
It shouldn't get too run away.
Right. Our post-Gen Con podcast was a lot of fun, but we had... What did we have? 12?
10, 11, 10, 11, or 12. Something
10, 11,
along those lines.
12.
It depends on the moment.
Yeah.
There
were
changed.
a couple of people that were in and out for a second, but in general, and I think we actually started with more people in the room, not on the mics, but in the room, than we ended up with on the actual show. So
That is true.
again, I hope everyone has had. I would not say we're at the end of our con season, but I think we're definitely at the end of our
Peak
con season. Yeah, we done Indiana Comic Con was a lot of fun. Indie Pop Con was amazing. Gen Con was amazing. I had such a good time at Gen Con this year. In my opinion, next to probably my first year at Gen Con, because it was all brand new, I would have to say this is probably one of my standout years for Gen Con. Just
for sure.
Played lots of really fun games with lots of really fun people. Had great GMs.
I think that was the general consensus.
Yeah, it seemed like it. And, as we kind of talked about 700 or 800 or 900 times on the post-Gen Con, lots of love from everybody, people looking out for each other. And there were a couple instances when people forgot things in restrooms or something like that, and it could have very easily been lost or taken and was not. And I thought that was really, really, really great. So... anyway, enough about Gen Con. We've moved past that. We're looking forward to next year's Gen Con.
50th
That's
is
right,
next
the 50th
year.
anniversary.
I mean,
Big 5-0.
we got some great mojo to go into the 50th.
So we got plenty of stuff to talk about come 50th.
Yeah.
Next summer.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Look for next July.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to go around the table, and we're going to do what we prefer. Let's talk about what we prefer. And I kind of feel like this might be a little one-sided, but we'll get into a little bit more detailed discussion on the differences between organized play versus casual play. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Prime on my left. If you are taking notes, that would be a 4-sided table. Prime, and then Josh, and then Dr. Deb, and then Don. So we're going to go with Prime on my left. Organized play versus casual play.
I'm going to be on the fence with this one, to be honest with you.
Fence sitter.
There's only 4 of us.
I know there is.
Joshy?
I'm actually gonna say organized.
Okay. Deb?
Well, I'm a little shocked with my husband's answer, but I am going to say organized as well.
Okay, well, I guess I'm the resident casual. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Josh, you were a little kind of hesitant on choosing organized play. Why?
I have really enjoyed playing in now 2 kind of epic campaigns between the world of Iota Dree and the world of Palagain/Palurin. And though they were casual and not per se under the RPGA or Pathfinder Society rules, they had a structure, which is part of the reason I really enjoyed them. There was a lot of... Derek and Danielle both knew their worlds very well, even as we shaped them. Mm-hmm. So I know that was a big thing for me. But I've really enjoyed the idea of my adventurer, especially with the Pathfinder Society. My Pathfinder is a member of this massive society who can jump in and help in learning all of these great things. And it doesn't matter what party it is, because all the Pathfinders are there for the same cause.
Right.
Well, they're supposed to be, but
that's
for
what
later.
guilds are for.
Yeah, that's for later. But it's really been neat because there's just this. They're on season 8 of the Pathfinder Society, and season 8's the number. It's actually their 9th year doing the Pathfinder Society because of season 0, and this world of Galarian is so established now that it's their 9th season. I don't remember if they did a couple of seasons that were like 2 seasons in a year or whatever,
sure.
But this is so flourishing, and it has been through so much history. And now that I've started to read the books and I've started to kind of see how these different areas like Cheliax and Absalom and how they kind of come together, and it's amazing because I really feel like part of the reason I enjoyed Iota Dree, Palagain, Palurin is because I could immerse myself in it.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Pathfinder Society, you take your Pathfinder, and as soon as you start playing, you are immersed in that world.
Yeah.
It's a big reason for me. I couldn't believe, that's why I was so questioning when I said it. I couldn't believe that I was so, but it really is, the organized play makes it so easy to get immersed.
Sure.
As your character.
Sure. Deb, you agreed with your husband, which I think was a little bit surprising to you. Why do you also kind of fall into that organized play comfort level?
So, as happens often with my husband, we came to the same conclusion, but we did it through completely opposite paths.
Sure.
Which is basically the story of our lives. So, I love organized play. So my experience before doing a lot of the Pathfinder adventures was mainly in Derek's world of Palagain/Palurin. I didn't have much experience with Iota Dree. So, and Derek's games were, I always knew there was a structure behind what he did. He had a plan. Now, we may have completely thrown the plan out the window 2 minutes into it, but he had a plan. He knew his world. I knew in his mind he had, there was a direction that we were going to be going. But I didn't always know where that direction was. It was sort of this nebulous thing that was stuck in his head somewhere, but I'm like, are we going the right way? Are we even doing what he's... are we... okay, I know we're doing the right thing, but I'm not 100... There wasn't enough detail always for me to know, this is why you're doing the thing. We're saving the universe. I'm sure we're saving the universe. I have no idea how and why. Whereas with organized play, I feel like when I step into a game, I understand my character's role. I understand what our little group's role is. I feel like there is a direction. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to you're finding the artifact. You're saving the princess at the castle. You're saving the world, whatever. But I love having that. There's the goal. Here's your starting point. do the thing, and I like that. I'm a huge structure person in my own life. I like knowing that. So as a character and being in a situation where I know generally what's going on, yes, they will always throw monkey wrenches at us, but when we did the threefer that we just did at Gen Con, each one built upon the next. There was a structure. You know, what you just did in one, this is the next part to two. So they are always connected. You don't always get that in casual play. You do one and then the next one, and well, did what we do actually impact anything in what we're doing now? Well, no, not really. Oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. We worked really hard. Okay. It's not that way. They actually build it so that one impacts two, impacts three, and that the whole season leads up to your finale. And I love that planning, that structure, that organization. It makes me happy.
All right. Prime, you were kind of on the fence.
Yeah.
Transitioning into me being a casual player, why would you say you kind of fall on the fence as far as
Because
the bennies, to the negatives of both?
I think it's solely dependent upon the game you're playing. There are games that are structured for the intent of being an organized type play platform, but then there are also games that don't really mesh well with that. Like from what I've experienced, like with the Fate system, or with even with Savage Worlds and stuff, I feel like a lot of those are more enjoyable when they're casual plays,
Okay.
versus being an organized play, and that might just be because of my lack of familiarity with the game itself. But when I'm being introduced to a new game in general, I would prefer casual over organized, because then I can break it down and go, I can take the time and go, okay, well, how does this system run? All right, without having to worry about, oh crap, it's my turn. Everyone else is relying on me to make a snap decision here because all of this stuff over here is going on, and it's time dependent upon whether or not, what I have to do next, So there's a bit more pressure with that when it comes to trying to learn new systems, trying to understand new games, which is why I prefer casual over organized, but they both have their purposes. They're talking about Pathfinder Society, and I've played in a few Pathfinder Society games, and in that aspect, it's in the Pathfinder Society games themselves, they're geared towards being structured. They're geared more linear than somebody who's got a homebrew, or even somebody who's developing a game and wants to play test it or whatever. So just because I've had so much experience with so many different games, I've been on the fence when it comes to which one I prefer over the other. So.
Okay. Well, I would have to say, for me personally, though I really do enjoy, and I had a great time playing this year in the Pathfinder Society. I had a good time last year with the exclusive, the Gen Con exclusive for the Pathfinder Society. I do enjoy playing society games, more structured games. I played in the RPGA when 3.5 was what was in 3rd Ed and 3.5 for Dungeons and Dragons was in. But I would have to say, as a player GM, I like the idea of casual play mainly because I can build what story I want to tell with the idea and expectation that my story is still going to be told with the interactions that the players that are playing the characters kind of interpret it as their own or involve themselves in the telling of that story. So I'm in the middle right now of writing a three-part one-shot module, if you will. And I know that there are certain things about the story that may or may not happen based on the players that are going to sit at the table. However, I've also kind of sewn in back alleyways to get to where I need people to get to based on just my experience with a lot of the players that we play with. And I feel like, though there's definitely a time and a place for organized play, and being able to sit down with a module that has pretty much everything spelled out for you to a pretty high degree, you don't have the stress of having to prepare anything. I enjoy that stress personally, and I enjoy being able to play by the seat of my pants kind of GM style. Like, I have an idea of where things are going to go, but I enjoy being able to say, okay, well, you know, maybe Mikey threw a wrench in because instead of going right, he went left. And now you guys are going straight for that dragon. Well, that's fine. I don't want you guys to die without finding the really cool bennies at the end of this dungeon before you get to the dragon. So I'm going to throw a kobold in there that's going to try and talk you out of going that way or something like that. Like, it's a challenge for me because I've always had the idea of a GM's job is to lay out the structure of the story, allow the players to tell the story, and then respond to how the players are telling the story that the GM wanted to tell. And I feel like there is a cooperative sense of building when you play in a casual game, or as my brother said, more of a homebrew. You sit down and prepare your own stuff. But, you know, for someone who enjoys less stress in their life when it comes to playing, structured play, organized play is great. I know that, you know, we've been talking a lot about the RPGA or Pathfinder Society. There's a lot of difference between playing casual play versus structured play in tournaments for King of Tokyo or King of New York or Magic the Gathering is a big one. You know, there are obviously lots and lots of formats for Magic the Gathering now, but I can take one of the decks that I've had built for 12 years and sit down with somebody who wants to play casual and have, in my opinion, a better time playing with them casually than if I were to go and spend the money on building a structured draft deck. And unfortunately, right now, I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to Magic, so I'd be walking in kind of blindly to play people who have been studying and playing drafts and preparing themselves, and I walk in to have a really good time, drop $25 on a draft deck, get my butt handed to me in the first round, and I still had a good time playing Magic, but it's kind of like I paid $25 to play for 25 minutes and, you know, got my rear end handed to me or something. So go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead.
It's so I think from the board game, card game perspective, with a collectible card game, the player has a lot of control over what deck they show up with, but when you're dealing with draft style things, because I even remember playing D&D minis and having draft nights where we would have to build an army around the guys we pulled out of a box.
Hopefully,
right. You got to do 30 points. 30 points. He's not even worth 4.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. Yeah. Oh God. So a lot of times I think that organized play around a game that either A, already has a very established rule set, or B, has such an open rule set that if there's not enough structure behind it, then you lose the, how do I say this? It's not fair play often. And a lot of times you got somebody who's spent, you basically can buy your way into the top a lot of times.
Right, yeah.
And I've heard that a lot about Magic in particular.
Net
I've even heard it
things like
in
that, yeah.
UFS, a lot of different games like that. And
well, Alan had that problem with playing Versus. He's just recently gotten to Upper Deck's Versus game, and I guess a lot of organized play players bowed out of the big tournament that they had at Gen Con because the biggest deck that's going on right now is Thanos.
Yeah.
And the Upper Deck authorities kind of had kind of an argumentative points about what was happening with a lot of the decks. And so literally a lot of the people who decided they were originally going to bow out came back in with Thanos.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what the result was, but I can imagine that there is definitely kind of a skewing of that because of specific mechanics and things like that.
I think part of the reason, and this is actually, I think, something that both Deb and I probably do agree on, part of the reason that the Pathfinder Society has kind of worked for us is that when done properly, the majority of players are on an even playing field. And it allows for, now granted, you're going to put together a group of random people that may not be the most balanced party in the world. We managed to create a very balanced party this year, which is part of the reason we're exploring doing more of the Pathfinder Society.
Yeah, that's exactly how
because we might actually have a party that works well together as opposed to walking in with 3 rogues, 2 wizards, and the bard.
And no healing.
Go for it with not a healer to be seen. And
and if you don't have that, even like if everyone doesn't have the, and this can go with casual organized, but if what is sitting at the table, whether it be in a competitive nature or in a organized role-playing game, if it is not balanced, and if it does not have that party dynamic, or what is it, Fear the Boot calls it, the party template. Yeah.
Yep.
If you don't have that template, it really doesn't matter what extra rules are behind it. But I think that I would love to see I'd love to see a casual game by, say, Don or Derek or Danielle, where all of the players are under the Pathfinder Society creation rules.
Oh, yeah.
Forcing everyone to be in
I've
that.
considered doing... Well, I did something very similar when I ran a few years ago. I ran what we affectionately called the Commoner game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I started everybody out as Commoner NPC classes. I think the highest ability score I was allowed...
It was a one-shot.
No, it wasn't. It ran for about 3 or 4 game sessions. But then half of the players, it was a long story. It's not worth telling.
Real life.
The game ended up collapsing in on itself, and it's definitely an idea that I have thought about starting back up and maybe cutting that point system in half. And so instead of like if you've never played Pathfinder Society, but you've played Pathfinder before, your ability scores are based on a point-buy system. All of your abilities start at 10, and you have 20 points that you can spend to increase those abilities, and it's 1 for 1 until you get to 14. 15 is 2, and 16 is 3.
And I think 18 is 4.
Well,
I think 4 or 5.
From 16 to 18, I think it's like 8.
Yeah.
Total.
So
it balances out very well. If you have an 18, you're really sticking yourself somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it
and
allows
I like
for
that.
I do too. It allows for that balance. I told Bonnie, my wife, when she decided that she liked the idea of playing in a Pathfinder Society game, she wanted to know what kind of character. And I said, honestly, we have a fairly balanced party. We don't have a straight up healer, but we have a cleric that can heal. He's a war priest.
No, he's
battle
a cleric, but he's a battle cleric.
He's built as a battle cleric.
That's right.
He's built to fight more, but he can heal.
Still sacrifice spells to get healing.
Right.
I said what we don't have is we don't have somebody who's great at knowledge. We don't have a skill like
a skill junkie, or knowledge
or a
person.
party buff.
Yeah.
So she said, "Well, that sounds awesome. I'll be a bard," which is, I believe, my wife's favorite class.
Oh, absolutely.
Yours is rogue, Bonnie's is bard, mine's cleric.
And so she is
Josh
playing
is
a bard in our
wizard.
game, which I think is really exciting to me. So, with the fact that, just the 4 of us that are at the table, now Debbie's playing something that is completely outside of her realm
Which
of
she's done
comfort,
great
but
with.
she's
I'm
doing
in a strange and bizarre land that is the sorcerer.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Josh is playing a frontline fighter.
Yeah.
I'm playing a backstabby, a rogue kind of parry fencer.
Sure.
And then Bonnie's playing the party buff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, with the combination of...
Vanessa's going to play an alchemist, which is going to be fun to see.
Okay, so with
interested.
the
Another
combination
knowledge
of
kind of
somebody
person.
who's kind of a mid-range combatant with knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got Lance,
Our battle cleric.
who's playing a battle cleric, who's a frontline fighter with healing abilities and knowledge.
And some wisdom. I hope you got
And
some
I
wisdom.
don't know what Adam's brother is playing.
I don't know yet either.
He better freaking figure it out.
I know.
Hello.
All the way from Indy to New York.
I think what that came down to, and Deb and I both were on the premise that being on the even playing field, that's an experience we can talk about in a little bit, but we have had our experiences dealing with players who abuse the system. And, I have, between a couple years ago, this year, whatever, I've had guys that I have reason to believe cheated. But sadly, I've had that happen in our own home games. Like, at different locations, it's
true.
happened.
That's very true.
Okay, so
You can't change the character of the player.
no, you
It
cannot.
doesn't matter whether you play organized or casual play.
But by restricting I say restricting in the best possible term. By restricting it down to everyone has the same access and the same points and the same ability to gain money, and everyone gets access to the same boons based off of how well they do in the scenarios. You know that when you sit down to play, even if it's with 5 strangers, that you're not going to be useless.
Yeah, at the same time, as a counterpoint, that linear ruling, just in general, it kind of restricts creativity in that you can't necessarily build the character that you want to because everyone is going with these particular rules.
Does it? Because a haiku still has a set of rules and can still be creative.
Right, but so for example, if you want to talk about Pathfinder terms,
what just happened?
There are certain races within Pathfinder that you have to have the advanced race guide in order to play, or you have to have certain boons in order to play. That restricts if somebody wants to play, this creature over here, but they can't. I mean, in that respect, it does kind of limit you on what you can do and what you can build. So.
However, the idea is if you want to play a game where you're playing a crazy race or a makeshift class or
a custom race, because you can
or
do
a custom race, or a variant of something that you saw in another source book from 25 years ago that you converted to a Pathfinder Society character or something. There's a time and a place for that. I think that if you're going to play in structured play, and I think that we've all had this issue, in some way, shape, or form. If you're going to play in structured play, you have to wrap your mind around the fact that you are not the one in control of the rules. You are the one who is participating in the rule set that is laid out for you. If it's Pathfinder Society, then you have to follow their creation rules. If it's Magic the Gathering, you have to follow their deck building rules. Mm-hmm. If it's King of New York from ILO, you have to follow the resolution rules of the dice or what have you. Now, of course, that's a little bit different because you can resolve them any way you want. But my point is, there's always going to be a rule structure that you have to follow in organized play, whether it's tournament or non-tournament organized play. There's always a rule set. So we've learned that the hard way playing the Pathfinder Adventure card game.
Oh, yeah.
We were playing the Pathfinder Adventure card game. We played the Rise of the Rune Lords original adventure path. We got pretty much done with it.
Yeah, we were in Adventure 6.
Yeah, we were in Adventure 6, and we realized that there were a couple of rules.
Major rules.
Because we all downloaded the Pathfinder Adventure card game app. If you haven't done that, it's addicting.
It is.
But we realized that there were some significant rules that, not that we had been negating, but that we had been playing and resolving completely wrong because we just misunderstood what the text was. And when the computer on the Pathfinder Adventure card game app says, "No, you can't do that," you go, "Wait, what do you mean I can't do that?"
I'm always able to do that.
Because I have been able to do that. And then you go, "Oh, well, I'm glad we were just playing casual play."
Yeah. We were in the,
But yeah, I think that obviously there are benefits and there are negatives to both. And I kind of want to talk about some of those benefits and some of those negatives a little bit more in depth. Like, I know that for me, when it comes to the creation rules, I enjoy... First of all, when it comes to the creation rules of Pathfinder Society, I enjoy the structure that they give you because I feel like it challenges you to be able to make the best possible character you can. However, I also really enjoy, like,
the
super
randomness?
duper crazy hero rolling. You know what I mean? Take 3d6 or 4d6, take the 3 highest, reroll ones, go crazy, or even something that we did. I don't know why we ever did this because it made us way too powerful. But something that we did was we took the character that had been playing in the most games.
We just come up with a number on our head. We just put on those words.
We came up with a character. Yeah, we came up with a character. The character that had been playing in the most games, which means they had all of the XP, and we took all of their ability scores. I hope you remember this. We did this in the Dalfor game. We took all of their base ability scores minus all of their equipment and extra stuff that they got for classes, combined them and said, okay, these are how many points you have 1-for-1 to spend on all 6 of your abilities.
1-for-1?
And I said, okay, that's cool. I don't need strength, so I'm going to take a 10 in strength and I'm going to take a 50 in charisma. I'm a sorcerer.
So
my DCs are ridiculous.
So we
now.
basically did a
thank you.
Yeah,
so
it's lands anyways where the rules don't matter.
The
points are made
up. The points don't matter. It's all made up.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter. Right?
It was. Oh my gosh! And now, don't get me wrong.
Everything is made up.
Everything is made up,
and
and the points don't matter.
That's
pretty much what our campaign was.
That was Balfour.
That's
quite some time.
Anyone,
now
it's
I
all
know.
made up, and the points don't matter.
I finally understand why Dalfor caused my brain to break.
Well, you know.
Multiple times.
Anyway.
It shattered on the floor.
After playing in organized play in multiple different situations, or even just after playing under Derek, I finally came to the realization that the Dalfor game, everything in Iota Dree had absolutely nothing to do with D&D 3.5 and everything to do with whatever we could come up with.
Amen. Well, he's finally come to the truth. Everybody make a note in your diary.
I could play that game with Fiasco rules.
Yeah. I mean, it pretty much
probably would have been more fun. I honestly think some of the stories you told me.
We should play a Dalfor game under the Dread rules.
Oh.
Are you trying to kill everyone? Is that the purpose behind playing the game?
I would watch.
Just put a Jenga, and then whatever you want to do, the more difficult.
Okay,
I would watch.
But only... I have a challenge. I have a challenge.
Only if we play with life-size Jenga.
I have a challenge now. I was passing a booth at Gen Con before they closed, and there was a booth that's here in Indy. They are a distributor and game designer. They have a Jenga set. It costs $100.
Okay.
And it is approximately 3.5 feet tall. And each brick is probably 1 high, 2 wide, and about 8 inches long. Just this huge Jenga tower. And I was like, that is a Dread game. You get 2 of those things and stack them on top of each other. Oh,
First
yeah.
of all, stacking them on top of each other is
do not be in the room when you play that Jenga. Make sure all of your electronics are like sealed off without, with some sort of cage next to them so they don't get destroyed.
Or we could just work at FedEx.
Yeah,
it's the same concept.
You put them in your garage. Like, you pull all the cars out, and it would be in the center of the garage.
Just stick them out in the driveway. People drive by.
Whenever it's your turn, we'll have like a security camera set up and go out there. We'll just watch as you're trying to pull, and then when they fall over.
You won't even need a security camera. You'll hear it.
It's true. 3 doors down. What the hell was that?
Somebody's
roof collapsed.
Somebody's garage collapsed. All right. Hope they have house insurance. Anyway.
I just think that something, I think it really came down to that. Dalfor, as much fun as that was, it never had anything to do with the D&D 3.5 set. It had everything to do with, how are we going to kill an army of Illithids? Well, let's drop the ceiling on them.
Yes.
The whole ceiling.
Because that's the only way you can kill an army of Illithids in the Underdark when you have 3 completely overly powered sorcerer. I know what I'll do. I'm just going to drop the 2nd layer of the Underdark on top of the 3rd.
The whole Underdark.
The entire Underdark. Yeah. Menzo Baronzon is now a little bit taller.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have finally come to an understanding of why Dalfor gave me a twitch. That still exists 15 years later.
Dalfor gave me a lot of things.
It did, but I never understood because I was like, I like Pathfinder and I like D&D 3.5. Why did that game make me want to I don't know. It made me want to sit in a corner and burst into tears and scream and yell and throw things all at the same time.
Okay, somehow this conversation between what Josh said and what you just said both made Dalfor sound like a venereal disease.
Well,
is that a Marter
I think
joke?
you brought it to that level, to be honest with you.
So what I love about casual play.
Yeah. Bring us back. This is why I like structured play.
Speaking of structure,
by the way,
structured podcasts, right?
By the way, I think the reason why I like structured play is because
You can't do stuff like that.
or if you do, it costs you.
That's true.
You could.
That's very true.
You can. You could build a character with an intelligence of 18. It will cost you
Yeah.
to do that.
And
opposed to, I have a 18 of everything else is 15s and 16s. And it's like, what kind of nonsense and Kool-Aid are you drinking? Because
a human who does 16 and then uses their +2 in intelligence could do an 18 pretty easily.
Well,
But
That's true. That's true.
but you if you know what I'm saying, I'm going to stab you with my knitting needle. My point is that for somebody who is an ISTJ, listen to the Myers-Briggs.
episode 107 in the next 4 or 5 episodes.
Correct. Not that we're advertising.
But we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
In my very nature, I am structure. Like, I will put structure within your structure.
Sure.
And to know that that structure is already there, that there is a system in place, that they've now had 8 seasons to make sure, hey, you know what, this stuff works.
Sure.
I enjoy that. It's a comfort to me. Now, I realize other personalities can find it constricting. I know that some do find that to be a negative point, and I respect that. I don't dislike that, to which I will politely say, then don't play
Get over it.
society.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry.
Well, that's A,
Don't play
or
society.
don't
Yeah,
play
you're right.
society. They just don't play that. As opposed to those who who actually get enjoyment out of building something within and this is weird, in a reverse kind of a thing. I like building the best I can with what I've got. I can't do anything more than this, but how can I make this the best possible thing? You give me limits, but within the limits, can I do this the best possible way that I can and have the best built cleric, the best built whatever, to be the most use to the party? It's its own challenge within the rules of how to do that well. And the people who've built 5 or 6 or, dear Lord, how many more Pathfinder Society characters do it really well. And it's fun to watch them talk about the things that they've got in their characters and how they use their boons to develop their characters. That's a stretch. You might get a boon that it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But guess what? Maybe you can cause it to work. I have an alchemist's boon that I got at the most recent Gen Con. I'm a sorcerer. I'm not an alchemist. But I'm like,
Can you give those away?
You know, the good thing about the
if you don't put the name at the top, if you don't put a name,
if they're unused,
correct,
Right.
you can give someone a boon.
Yes,
But you can also only use one of the same boons for one character. So if you have
Right.
duplicates, you still can only use the one. Just
Right.
so you-
Right, and there are
Okay,
also
that's
there are
fine.
but
also
if your best
boons-
friend is an alchemist,
Right.
There are also boons that directly relate to character creation. There are boons that
Sure.
give you an option of different races that you can choose when you
That's
build your next
understandable.
character.
I have a boon that says that I fight off a ghoul thing, and it just doesn't work for me. But that's why I was asking, because I'm
pretty
I
sure,
can,
yeah.
I can
Oh, that
apply it
boon,
to
yeah,
a different.
I know
I
what
can
you're
apply
talking
it to a different
you can apply
character.
it to a different character, so I'd assume you could give it to a different player.
Okay. Okay. I would have to say that, Deb, you and I, personality-wise, are very different. Complete
Literally.
opposites.
literally, we couldn't be more different.
And I also have to say that I agree with you in that what I enjoy out of playing a organized play is quite literally the structured play, the structure of the play. Because I found a post on a short side note. My wife posted it, and it was like the Myers-Briggs personalities when it comes to rules. And of course, the ENFP is rules. There's rules to this. So, and that's kind of the mentality that I go with is I know that there's rules when it comes to the creation. How can I fudge them? Where can I push the line? Now, I'm not saying I want to cheat, but I want to make Don's rogue in Pathfinder Society legally and still have fun with it. And I think what really turned Adam on to wanting to GM for us, other than all of us sexy people, is the idea that while we were sitting there playing Pathfinder Society, he was having a good time playing his character, being his character in that game, like Josh said, immersing himself into the action of that character. Why? Because we were all doing the same thing. Everything was in character. There was no side chatter. You don't have time for that in organized play. Now, granted, we got done an hour and a half early pretty much every game.
Well, and
But-
that's apparently pretty common. They allot 4 hours, but the premise is that
Right.
everyone does and focuses, it'll
Right.
be done sooner.
Right,
Like,
and we
that
had a
was the
great time
yeah.
doing it. We had
Majority
so
of-
much fun.
Majority of my games that I've played Pathfinder
Right.
Society, I mean, the years that I've played it, the same thing. Like,
Right.
if the party's focused, You get like
Well, I
an
tell you
hour
what,
or
though,
whatever,
it's-
do whatever.
It's tough to get done that quickly, though, in the big exclusives when they have like tons of tables going on at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah,
Those
it
are
is.
hard. Like,
Yeah.
you might get done, but it's like you still feel the tension because everyone around you is still playing.
Yeah.
And you're watching that map,
You're like,
and there's still a lot of bad guys to fight on that map.
Right. And your cheerleaders doing flips.
Yeah,
and, I mean,
exactly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're probably not listed, but who cares?
That's all right.
Who cares?
So I have to say that I agree. Very similar to multiple conversations that you and I have. I would agree with you in the sense that I like the same things that you like. I just like them for completely different reasons. I love the structure of organized play because it limits not only me but everyone else at the table. So it's a balanced playing field. That's the hard thing about playing in organized play with collectible card games like Magic the Gathering is unless I've got the money to invest in the deck, I'm putting a deck together that's for structured play within the limits of their bounds, but it's not going to be balanced. I'm going to get my butt kicked 9 times out of 10. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
So I'm going to confess now because there's only 4 here and Alan's not here. So I'm going to confess that I actually considered for a short period of time being a Magic player
Yeah?
because of the amount of strategy and kind of almost tactics and setting up your deck. But then I came to the realization that
you
once I
loved your
started
life
it,
and money.
well, that was in it. But because of my nature, I want to be the best. To get the deck to be the best,
Like no one else.
The very best.
it is
No
going to
one ever
cost you
was. Sorry.
a whole lot of money
Yeah,
and
it
a
does.
whole lot of time to do that. That is why I am now I'm kind of turned off to it because I know that if I ever did want to be in a tournament, unless I'm putting a ton of money into this thing,
Sure.
it's almost a waste of my time.
And I'll be honest, like I've gotten way more enjoyment out of playing casual play in games like that than I ever did playing tournament play. Because there's just in my opinion, there's a different class of people that play tournament-style structured games. And that's the other thing. When we're talking about structured campaigns for Pathfinder, the same people play in casual games.
Yeah.
And they're the same people that you enjoy playing games with on a casual basis. It's in my opinion, and there might be people that are, opposing to this opinion, and they'd be wrong. But in my opinion, maybe not. The people that play in tournament-style games that are as intense as, say, your Magic the Gathering, your Yu-Gi-Oh, your Pokemon, they're a completely different range of characters than those who just play casual. And a lot of people who have gotten into playing casual Magic, it's because they don't want to deal with the people who play in tournaments because the character of the people who play in a lot of those tournaments is not always pleasing. So
They're poker players.
that's there are a lot of people that play Magic that go into playing poker because the mentality is almost the same.
Watching poker, the way the poker stars,
Yep.
play and how they think about things. And it's that cutthroat, how can I make, every chip, that kind of, that focus. I was like, I bet that would be very valuable in Magic. You get what you pay for. That whole
One of the more recent.
You don't go to have fun at a poker table. You
Yeah.
go to win in a
You
poker
go to
table.
win. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and it brings to a very slight change, but very different. The difference between playing in a game where all you want to do is win versus playing in a game where all you want to do is play is the difference, in my opinion, between playing in a game and gambling. Mm-hmm. Because when you gamble, the goal of gambling is to be the winner. Mm-hmm. Because you're putting money on the line to increase that money. Mm-hmm. I had a discussion with somebody at work the other day that completely disagreed with me, but that's a whole nother subject.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason. I know I've mentioned this before. When it comes to, I don't like playing Texas Hold'em.
Sure.
I like playing Texas Hold'em, but from the aspect of each chip is worth real money.
Right.
I prefer to play for a buy-in because
Yeah.
I want to play the game.
Exactly.
Here is my $20. I don't expect to get that back.
Exactly.
But if I win, awesome.
Yeah. Bonnie went to one of the casinos local here to Central Indiana, and she wasn't really paying attention. She was playing slots. She had $20, and she was just playing and just playing and just playing. and her $20 went forever, and she ended up winning $120. Mm-hmm. And as soon as her grandmother came over and said, "Bonnie, you're up. You're at $120." And she was like, "What? Where?" And so she showed her, and she goes, "Oh, sweet, cash out." Mm-hmm. Boom. And she was like, "You can still play." And Bonnie's like, "No, dude, I just won $100 on top of the 20 that you handed me to come and play. So here's your 20. Yeah. I'll take my 100. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That's the difference between, in my opinion, that's the big difference between somebody who is a gamer and is winning at gambling and someone who's a gambler and winning at gambling. Because gamblers, they want to go, the reason that full stake or whatever, no limit poker exists is because you want to see that no limit. You want to see, I'm going to go all in.
You want all ins.
Yeah, you want to see that because that's really where the action is. I mean, it's really cool watching guys like Dave Negreanu and people like that who sit down at the table and can read people so well and read their cards without ever seeing those cards. Mm-hmm. And then win consistently, and that's a whole different facet of structured play and organized play and things like that. Go ahead, Deb.
So I think, but I want to know if you guys agree with me, those players, those cutthroat, those magic players, they're poker players, whatever, I can tell who they are when we're around a Pathfinder table and we're playing a game, because it seems like they're the ones who are so focused on the good die roll. They're so focused on getting the boon. They're so focused on beating the thing within an inch of its life times 7.
Right,
it's always about the success. It's not really about the story.
Right.
And I don't really like playing with them because I'm sorry, there's days the dice are not going to like you. Yep. There are days that your dice need to be put in the microwave. There are those days. In which case, just for about 5 seconds, just to warm them up a little bit. That's okay. I mean, Tracy Hickman, goodness gracious, built the system around more fun and interesting things happen on bad die rolls than on the good die rolls.
Right.
And so what do you think? Do you agree with me that those kind of cutthroat players, especially when you're playing in like an organized play and like a Pathfinder where you've got certain rules, poker has certain rules, but that person who's clawing for every single chip in there. I feel that sometimes when I'm playing with people who are clawing for every single +1. No, I got another +1 in here somewhere, and pages are flying, and you're like, dear Lord, it ain't worth this. Can we just go on and explore the next room? I mean, to me, that's a downer in both. Do you think?
I think it can be because a lot of the people that we've played Society with in the past have been more about I want to say it was Mike or somebody explained it, that are you playing the rules or are you playing the game? Mm-hmm. And
well, that's the difference between ROLL and ROLE.
Exactly. And I think that's where I was ultimately going, is that I think why we enjoyed ourselves so much this year at Gen Con was our party was role playing ROLE. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And getting really good ROLLs.
We really were in a lot of instances.
Nice.
In others, maybe not so much. We did have one guy almost die.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. I had an awesome bluff check to make it look like I did, though.
That's right. Yeah, you did. To the point that our own players were like, that guy's dead.
He died.
Now he's come back. And
they killed the living statue above me, and I stood back up, and I was like, woo. And they were like, wait, you were dead. And I was like, almost. Only mostly dead.
Only mostly.
He got better.
His hair was perfect.
That's right.
I think that's what you'll see, is that if you come to a role-playing game to role-play ROLL, you very likely will negatively impact someone who is there to role-play ROLE. And I know that organized play brings out the ROLL players because we're here to play the rules. I'm there to play the game.
Yeah.
And it kind of was leading me, her comment led me to a question that I wanted to kind of present as we're finishing up here. One of the games we played at Gen Con was the Red Dragon Inn tournament.
Sure.
For those who have not played the Red Dragon Inn, the Red Dragon Inn is like the ultimate I'm going to mess with you game.
Oh, it's
that
awesome.
is just meant for the heaviest
rules.
amounts of fun.
That's right.
And the rules are simple.
Yeah.
And your roles are fun because you're playing adventurers who are coming. Yes,
ROLE rules.
ROLE roles are fun because there are no rolls ROLL.
Right, because
there's
it's
no
a
dice.
card game.
It's a card game. But the premise of the game is you show up at the tavern after you're adventuring and you're buying drinks for each other and you're beating each other up and you're beating each other at gambling games, whatever, blah, 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 until you're the last person standing. And the tournament, this doppelganger tournament, put 90 people together.
Is that how many that we
It was
ended up having?
yeah, because I think there were
That's
32 characters.
Yeah.
And
there were almost 3 people at every character.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it would start with 2 to 3 people would play the exact same character, and then whoever won that round would move on to the final part of the tournament. So that was organized play for what is one of the most disorganized games I've ever played in my life.
It was crazy.
Where I had so much fun with that, and even though it was organized, where do you think that lies in this? Do you think that is kind of the definitive gray area in this conversation? Would you, as I'm lovingly titling this, call that our unorganized play?
I would say yes. I would say that I'll put it this way. The comment that I made to the Slugfest Games judges as they were kind of continuing to organize the next round, and I made it to the second round of the game. And the idea was you played your character against a group of 5 unique characters, 4 to 5 unique characters. They had 6 simultaneous games going on. The one person that won out of each of those games would be the last table of 6. And so I got really, really close to being in the last round. And actually, the British gentleman who beat me ended up going to the last table. There were 2 other players at our table when I went out. He ended up going to the finals, and I think he tied for 3rd or something like that, which was really fun. And he was a very nice guy. But my comment to the Slugfest Games guys as I was walking away was that was the most fun I've had losing. Because it is. Red Dragon Inn in general is one of my favorite just casual, silly, fun-hearted card game, party game, if you will. If you own them all, I mean, legitimately, we've sat at a table with 12 people and all played a different character. And my house rule, which I think I found out a lot of people's house rule is when you play a character, you have to choose a fun, silly voice as you play the card and read the title of the card, especially if you're playing like GOG or something like that. You have to do it. But I would say that for me, I know that you and Debbie and Carrie and Bonnie all played as well, and I don't exactly know what your opinions were of it, but I had such a good time playing with the guys that I played with in the first round that were all playing the same character as me, and then the guys who played, or the ladies and gentlemen who played in the second round with me. I had just as much fun. And it's definitely that style of game is one of my favorite kind of games. And even in the King of Tokyo tournament that I played with myself, 2 parents, their 2 small children, and my 7-year-old. And I chose that table because I had a 7-year-old, and they had a 6-year-old, and then they had like a 4-year-old. And I was like, this is the table I need to be at to enjoy this game with my son. Because the guys who were sitting next to me were 4 guys. They were playing a whole different game of King of Tokyo than what I was playing. And the 4-year-old ended up winning the game at our table, which I thought was great.
He said, get on my level. Afterwards.
Drop the mic.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun as well. So I think that games like that in general don't take themselves too seriously, are my favorite kind of games to play in the tournament, because obviously they have to have a rule set. They have to have a structure. And you play the game to that structure, but because the game theme, I think that really goes into the enjoyment factor, in my opinion, of organized play. Because of the theme of the game, it definitely caters to the emotional connection that you have. Also because I am kind of the feeler, I'm an ENFP feeler. So the emotional connection I have is I just had fun. I played in tournaments in games that I knew I was going to have fun in, not that I was investing like my whole heart and budget to try and win.
Remember the Pixie game? Those are the rules.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You got so frustrated in that game.
So funny.
I think
All
that,
the gamer stories.
Yes, all the gamer stories. I think that really does kind of sum up what happened here. I think we always talk about finding what it is that makes a game fun for you.
Yeah.
And if being in an organized situation increases your amount of fun, then get into an organized situation.
Absolutely.
Yes, do it.
If you
do it now.
Whoa.
Or just calm down.
Because for those of us who need structure and have a lot of friends who aren't very structured, I hear you. I hear you out there in established facts land going, yes,
Which
my
is funny
friends don't
because-
know what an organized thing is. They don't even know how to spell the word. I feel
I
you.
can spell it.
Okay.
I can spell the word.
Spelled it on the.
But then they run away from
W-O-R-D.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, because if you actually have the structure and you like structure, you are in such a happier place. You enjoy the game more. You are not cranky. You do not want to throw the dice at
Now
the
here's
person
my
across
question for
the
you,
table.
Miss Debbie
Usually.
J. Structured.
TJ.
That's fine. Yeah. You've played a lot of characters in casual play. 2 of those characters have been for GMs that are a lot more structured. One using a module, and 2 using his own world / homebrew stuff. And then you've also played for myself in 2 games, because one of your first clerics that you played was for me. Josh, you are cracking me up. He's messing with Debbie's phone because it keeps vibrating and he's getting frustrated. And then the second one you played was a Palagane game, but also kind of my own homebrew. So my question is, you have played in both casual and organized play, and you've played for both structured and somewhat more loosely structured GMs, because I still put a crap ton of work behind making sure that the game is good, because I know I have people that I run for that need that out of a game. So my question is, what do you enjoy more playing? Do you enjoy playing the casual games with Derek and Josh and I, or do you enjoy more the organized play of Society? No feelings are going to be hurt by this answer. You just have to give one.
I don't have feelings.
Josh doesn't have feelings.
I do, but
Sorry.
I'm not going to have
Josh.
mine hurt.
Yeah, right. You're hesitating, which is making me think you're going to say organized play through Pathfinder Society. And that's fine.
Well, that's
okay.
actually a hard. Actually, I was going to say I kind of want to be a fence sitter, because I want
Okay.
to say that
I'll take that.
There were certain games that I have played with Derek, certain games I played with Josh, certain games I played with you that I would not trade an organized game for.
Sure.
I absolutely would not trade it for the world. And in those, yes. Then there were other times when I was sitting at a casual game, and I felt I would have been more
just wanted to
useful
rip your
if I could have
eyeballs
gone.
out.
Yeah, I wanted to poke my knitting needles in my eyes. I want to go upstairs. I'm just going to leave.
Right.
Like that thought would come
That's
to my mind.
understandable.
I've never had that thought in an organized play. I did have the thought I wanted to claw somebody else's eyeballs out because of behavior that I was not happy with. But it was never sat down in an organized play and go, why on earth am I here? I'm
Right.
useless.
Right.
Why did I
Okay.
even show up? Whereas in casual play, I've had that a few times.
But that can all, and obviously, I totally understand where you're coming from. And
So that's a hard one.
I would have to say that might also be the difference between running individual modules versus running in a campaign that's interconnected and things like
Right.
that. But yes, I agree.
Or popping into the Dalfor campaign
Oh, well.
randomly.
I'm sorry that you ever did that.
Yeah. I'm going to stab myself with knitting needles and bleed here on the carpet, because that's what that felt like. As opposed to the end game in which I won't go into, one of the end games in one of Derek's games, which is still
The infamous dragon death story.
yeah, the dragon death
Yeah.
scene, which was absolutely fantastic, and I would not trade for anything that Pathfinder Society offers.
Sure.
So that's
Right.
hard.
The highs
but
and lows.
Yes.
Got
yes.
it. Okay. Well, I think that was a fairly good discussion on organized play versus casual play. I hope you all enjoyed it. we have a little bit of business here at the end of our episode. I believe the only thing we have is our fact, isn't it?
Do
we have any announcements or anything like that?
No. Which, I mean, I guess it's kind of keep paying attention to Adam and the Side Project podcast
Yes,
and the writing he's going to be doing.
Mikey Mason. Check out Mikey Mason's got a new album out now.
Yeah, and he's doing once a month online concerts for free. You can tip him if you so choose. Which
Yeah.
We were watching
Tip
it the
him.
other day.
well, I say that super thanks to him because before I tipped him, he totally promoted the podcast,
Right.
which was cool.
Right.
So,
You should still tip him. He's a good guy.
Much
yeah,
love.
good guy. Yeah. Pelagame Press, Derek's stuff. He is working on some new product that hopefully we'll have more information on in the future. I know that was the most vague statement I've ever said, but I just know there's more to it than that.
I can't say yes or no to that. I can neither
neither confirm nor deny that Derek is actually working on a game, but it could be possible in the future or possibly sooner than that.
Once he graduates,
Some terms and conditions may apply.
That's right. Oh,
which leads us to
which reminds me. So I made the mistake of having, I'm pretty sure the longest fact we've ever had on this show.
the
Yes.
established paragraph.
The established paragraph is, that's right, the fact. I'm going to try. So I had a small piece, just to set this up for you guys, I had a small piece of paper that I had all my notes on, and then I started writing the fact from our last episode, and literally had to get a new little sheet of paper for the new one, because I didn't have room. So, on episode 127, which I think I called 126,
You did.
but it's whatever.
Post-Gen Con ep.
Post-Gen Con episode, we established that the established facts, at the established facts, we love children,
Yep.
the elderly, African Americans,
Yes.
Asian Americans, LGBT+,
Yes.
Yeah.
Democrats,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Republicans,
Yes.
Mike Pence,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
dancing monkeys,
Yeah.
Who doesn't love
yeah,
dancing
you know,
monkeys? Yeah.
and everyone else on the earth. This PSA has been brought to you by the established facts. Some terms and conditions may apply.
What?
Shut
Shut up, Josh.
Dang it.
And for episode 128 of the established facts, our new fact, a haiku.
God, you actually wrote down haiku.
I sure did.
Did you spell it right?
It's creative.
Did I spell haiku?
But it's got rules.
H-A-I-K-U.
Haikus are 575 syllables, man.
Yep. Gaming is such fun. Derek's brain is nebulous. Huge Jenga is dread.
Oh my god.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on episode 128 of The Established Facts. I hope you enjoyed that haiku, and if not, we'll see you later.
Write one of your own.
That's right.
Bye.
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 Bonus.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.